If you finally want to unlock the handstand push-up as a complete beginner, here's what you need to do step by step, so keep watching. When I back then started to train the handstand push-up, I mainly learned it by doing attempts and negatives. I never went to the wall and practiced it against the wall. I also never did pike push-ups. I still managed to learn it because I followed this one simple principle. It's about doing specific attempts and then also doing strengthening exercises for the parts that you need in the handstand push-ups. So what I did, I was just spamming a lot of regular push-ups. I was also doing dips, and these exercises prepared my body for the handstand push-ups, and then I also did specific attempts in order to learn the technique. And if you combine these two parts in your training in the most efficient way, you're going to make the fastest progress that you can imagine. And before you keep watching this video, you need to know that this video is really practical. So if you want, you can just warm yourself up for 5 minutes and then you can do the exercises that I'm going to show you right now. This video is going to be separated in different levels, so just do every level and see at which level you are currently at, and then you can base your training around this level that you can do right now. Level number 1 are regular pike push-ups. You want to place your hands shoulder width apart on the ground, then you want to raise your hip, so you want to be in a pike position. You also want to push tall with your shoulders, and you also want to round your back. Then you can push up and down. Once you can do around 10 to 15 reps, that's when you can move on to the next level. Once you're comfortable with pike push-ups, do them elevated. So just place your feet on an elevated surface and do the pike push-ups like this. Once you can do around 10 to 15 reps of this variation, that's when you can move on to the next level. Now where you have mastered the first 2 levels, it's time to get even more specific. So what we are going to do are handstand push-ups against the wall. Here you don't need to worry about the balance at all because you are supported by the wall, so you can solely focus on building up that overhead pressing strength that you need for the handstand push-up. So you want to place your hands a bit wider than shoulder width apart on the ground, and then you want to walk up the wall, and then you want to go even closer to the wall with your hands, and then you can do some push-ups. Once you can do around 5 to 10 reps, it's time to move on to the next exercise, and here we also work a little bit on the balancing. Now where you are comfortable with the other exercise, you can move on to the most specific exercise, and these are negative handstand push-ups. So you kick up into the handstand, you hold it for a second, and then you lower yourself down really slowly, and it's important that you lean forward a little bit. And then you want to hold it at the bottom, then you come down and you kick back up and lower yourself down, you hold it, go back down, and then you do it for reps. Now where you are comfortable with the freestanding negative handstand push-up and with the handstand push-up against the wall, it's time to combine those 2 exercises, and it looks like this. You kick up into the handstand near to a wall, you hold the handstand freestanding, and you do the freestanding negative part of the handstand push-up. You hold it at the bottom for a second, you go to the wall, and you press back up with the support of the wall, and then you do it for reps. You lower yourself down, you go back to the wall, and you press back up. This exercise can be extremely useful because you are working on the easier part, which is the negative freestanding, but also on the positive part with support, and you combine it so you're working on the positive and on the negative part of the movement. Once you're comfortable with this exercise, you can really start to focus on doing a lot of attempts of the freestanding handstand push-up. But there's still one extremely useful exercise that you can also incorporate into your training. Let's move on to the next exercise. It's called frog stand press. When you do them, you're working on the positive and on the negative movement, but you're also working on the balance. So it's extremely specific and it's extremely helpful balancing wise and strength wise. They look like this. You press into the handstand. You lower yourself down into the frog stand. You press back up, back down, up, and so on. When you do the frog stand presses, it's important that you don't bend your arms too much. So what you don't want to do is to go down and then up, because it's way too difficult. What you want to do is to keep your arms as straight as possible. Now it's time to go for the most important exercise of the handstand push-up, and it's doing attempts. So you don't need to do them perfectly right away. It's important that you just do your attempts. You can also do them with your legs apart, so in the straddle position, and you also don't need to go extremely low down. You can also do half reps. So it could look like this. You push up into the handstand, and then you do straddle push-ups, and you don't even go down the full range of motion. That's how you start, and once you get more comfortable with this exercise, you can do the full range of motion. One thing that is important is that you also understand the right form. So what you can do in order to have a good alignment in the handstand push-up is to practice the hollow body hold. It looks like this. So you just do the hollow body hold. It's important that your lower back touches the ground. And then you hold this position for a few seconds. When it comes to the technique, it's actually not that difficult. You just need to lean a little bit forward, and you can also pike your hips slightly. So the perfect technique looks like this. You start in a clean, straight handstand, and then you lean a little bit forward with your shoulders, and then you bend your arms. Your hip is slightly piked, and then you push back up, and then you straighten the angle of your shoulder again, and then you are in a straight handstand line again. But as I've told you, it's not about learning it with perfect form in the beginning. You are first of all going to get it with bad form, and then once you can do it for a few reps, that's when you can start to correct the form. So don't worry too much about the perfect form in the beginning. And if you also want to learn the 90-degree handstand push-up, just leave a comment down below, and then chances are high that I'm also going to create a 90-degree handstand push-up tutorial. But if you still have specific questions regarding to the handstand push-up, you can just shoot me a DM on Instagram. I let my DMs open for everyone that has questions, because it's impossible to talk about everything, about every mistake and so on. So if you have questions, just let me know on Instagram, and that's it for the video. See you in the next one.